So basically, when we talk about Buddhist view of the world, it's composed of 6 realms, right? It's like the basic question is, what is the model of the universe? How Tantric see the model of the universe? How it connect to like Kabalistic model of the universe? So basically, the general model of Tantric and Buddhist idea of the universe is that it's all run by karma. It's all run by our actions, which means when we perform an action, it has some coincidence, it has some results. And the volition of the action is very important, which means, for example, angry action, and violent action, strong, intense, violent, and angry action, it can take us to hell, or to a hell realm, to existence, which is very condensed suffering. And there is also, they say that there is a hot hell and a cold hell. So a hot hell is where the action is like a burst of anger or aggressiveness or violence. And cold hell is basically generated when we are having this cold anger. Like I say, the wife that hates her husband and she torturing slowly and she keep her bitterness inside, and it comes like in a passive aggressive way. But she all the time just thinking about harming. And this creates some sort of a cold hell, basically. And then there is the realm of hungry ghost, which means when we are in a state where we are obsessed by material thing or things which are temporary and we are really obsessed about them. Like the woman who lives in her house and she's so attached to her belongings, even when she dies, she still holds this attachment. She can't let go of her possessions, her money, her house, her room, her vast, her everything like that. This is what creates ghost. Ghost is a soul that didn't continue its evolution, didn't take real rebirth in whatever realm they were supposed to be born, because they are so attached to this world, they kind of hunt a place or hunt like something, a person or an object. So this is what is ghost. Ghost is a hungry ghost. They call it a hungry ghost. Somebody who was ruled by greed and is very attached to something, and it's also a lot of suffering in there. And you can get stuck in it for a long time. If to take the equivalence in Judaism, it is called kaf hakela, which means between the worlds. There is Gehinnom, which is the hell. Then you have kaf hakela. And then you have the world of animals. Animals, basically, they don't suffer as much as ghosts or hell beings. But what is with them is that they are stupid, basically, and they are always fear for their life. They never keep meals. They don't have a refrigerator. They don't. So whatever they hunt, they after in the hunt again. They never feel safe really. Whenever even a tiger, the king of the animals, he eats a prey. He needs to defend it from other animals, and so on. So they're always on survival mode. Always basically fighting for their survival. It's not very happy usually. And of course, some animals can have a better karma if they, spoil the puppy dog or something. But still, they have this lack of intelligence, which doesn't allow them to practice a spiritual way, a spiritual path. So they are still locked in this circle of birth and rebirth and reincarnation, this cyclic existence. So it's kind of a waste of a lifetime. And so beyond the animals, and the karma to be an animal is basically the karma of being somebody who's drinking a lot, for example. You basically dilute his intelligence. So you create the seeds of being born very stupid. Or some, it's also true for drugs. Many drugs that just come to kind of cut the edge, or being, you don't want to be aware, you don't want to see things, so we drink or we take drugs. So this is creating the seeds of having a stupid mind, basically. And another thing that can cause it is being very, very lusty people who are very engrossed in matter, in sex and food, and this is all the world. This creates an animalistic sort of existence, the seeds for animalistic existence. And then you have the human rhythm, which is very interesting, and it has everything in it, basically. And it's considered very good for spiritual purposes, because you have the right mixture of suffering and joy and intelligence and stupidity. Everything is there together, and it's kind of a balanced world in a way. It's not like the high world, which are pure pleasure or something. It's not that you're always tortured, and so it's have everything in a way. But of course, it's still an unpleasant existence, because it's pretty short. And you get old, you die, and you get sick. You have a very limited body, which is very weak and fragile generally, and so on. So it's not happiness. It's called the precious human rebirth, which means it's a very valuable body, because with this body you can get out of the cycle of life and death. But as itself, it's not a happy. It's not a happy body to be in. It's very limited. It has a very short lifespan generally, and it's basically full of disease, impurities. Our mind is very full of negative thoughts and negative emotions. In higher realms, like, I don't know, the heavens that we're going to talk, you don't have this emotion of I don't know, greed, lust, frustration. You don't have depression when you are an angel. Okay, you can never be depressed if you're an angel or something. So, above the world of humans, there is a world which is called this demigod realm, or the worlds of demigods. Creatures who have a better karma in a way than humans. They've got to be much more powerful, much more. They have a radiant body, basically. They have a stronger mind as well, but they have a lot of pride, and they are prone to fight. They are very ambitious. They want to rule. So it's like a bit when you see politicians, like people like Mao Zedong, or I don't know, people Stalin. They have a lot of strength. They are very powerful beings, but they kind of driven by lust for power and pride. So it doesn't matter how much you can respect them and how powerful they are, still there is something very lacking in their existence. Alexander the Great, you see all these great leaders, it's a bit like the existence of this, of the demigods. Something is always missing there. It doesn't matter how powerful they are and impressive they are. And then you have the realms of gods, or it's not the god like we think in Judaism, for example. It's realms of gods, and it has a lot of realms. It has like gods that are musicians, are the heavenly musicians, and it's a world of amazing harmony and amazing melodies and amazing kind of artistic joy. And then you have worlds that has of creatures that can create universe, and create realities, and so on. You have all kinds of levels of realms, and some realms are more pure and some are less pure, and some realms you can live much longer than the others. There's all kinds of scales. But on the top of all the scales, they say that you have a world which is called the Brahma, the world of the great gods. And they say that the leader of this world, the king of this world, is like Mahabrahma, which is basically the Jewish idea of God, who sits on a throne in the heaven, and he controls everything. He has unlimited power. This Mahabrahma has almost unlimited power. He's like the Maha creature, is the highest creature, basically. There are other realms which are considered higher than that, but these creatures that are in those realms, they don't have bodies, they're almost, you cannot say that they are creatures actually. So he's the highest being, but he has one weakness. Even though he's omniscience, omnipotent in many ways, his problem is that he also, to be a Mahabrahma, is a karma, which means after a billion years, I don't know how many years, billions of years, this karma will get exhausted, and then he will fall down in being a limited being, a much more, and he can even fall down to become an inferior being, like in lower realms. And this is the basic problem is all karma. Every karma exhausts itself. You can be one day, you can be a saint, and you can have one life and you are a really good person and you are doing so much good karma. But then next life you are born with this good karma to be a rich, spoiled boy, and you think you want the world, and you become corrupted and you start doing a lot of shit, and then you get into a very low world. So you're always in a circle of being walking in a room which half of it is dark and one half of it is white, is bright, and you walk between them. You cannot control it. And actually, they say that the worst suffering in the world is the one of God, which is at the end of its good karma, of its godly karma, and you can see the future, you can see everything, so you see where he's going to fall, and it's a great suffering because he was so high, he had so much pleasure, and now he's going to fall down. And you asked me before how if these beings they can see the future, they can have omniscience, they can have so much intelligence, how come they don't do a lot of good karma? And the reason is because they have ignorance. If they didn't have ignorance, they would not be gods, they would be Buddhas, they would be enlightened beings. But they have a level of ignorance that basically doesn't allow them to see reality as it really is. And they exalt the karma, and they sometimes become very arrogant. And like all the Greek gods, the Greek mythology, all the mythologies, they describe beings which are divine. They are high beings, but they have a lot of ego. Like Hera, and she was jealous in Zeus' wives and stuff, and she chased them, she did a lot of bad stuff. And so on, because those gods, the lower realms of gods, of deities, it's not really gods, of deities, these deities still have ego, and they still can have a lot of ignorance, and they can do a lot of shitty power, basically. By the way, the Jewish God, let's take the Kabbalah model, is not that far from this description, because they say the world was existed. They do talk about incarnations, and they say that this world exists for 6,000 years if you take the Bible, but the Chazal, the old ancient Jews, they asked, so what was before this world? And they said what God did, he created the world and destroyed them. Borei olamot v'machrivam, which means it's just a cycle. There were worlds before this world. People lived there, and then eventually when, I don't know, this story ended, he created another world, basically. Also, you can say the world of the dinosaurs. There was a whole world like a billion years ago, and it's not anymore. So he created and destroyed worlds all the time. It's cyclic existence. So the Buddhist also says that this world is going to be destroyed and be created, destroyed, created. It's kind of an infinite existence. Doesn't matter how long you go back in time, you can only see a moment before. There was not one moment which everything was created. So there is infinite time before, and it can run infinitely to the future. And the idea is that this whole cycle, even if you fall on the bright side for a while, is suffering, is limited, is very limited. So we want to break through off the cycle, get out of this cycle of existence. And this can be done only by a very deep insight into the nature of karma and emptiness, it's called. It has many names, but one of these names is emptiness, which means we understand that this reality is basically like a dream. We fall from one dream to another dream to another dream. One time the dream is very good, that we created the reasons for, the causes for really good dreams. So we dream ourselves to be in heaven, but it's a projection. We all the time, our karma project, force us to see reality in a certain way. Then it forces us to see reality in another way. Depending on our actions. We did a lot of good stuff, so this seed ripened and we are forced to see a very beautiful world. But then other karma manifests and we are forced to see a very dark world. But the dreamer never changed. The dreamer, the one who has the dream, he never changed. And the way out of suffering is to awake from the dreams. It doesn't matter good or bad dreams. So, in a way, in Buddhism at least, there are two paths two mentors. Basically, there is more than they're basically